Yep.
Okay, the meeting is called to order, and there's no public, so I assume there's no public comments unless John or Bill.
No.
Okay.
Motion
Is
to
there a
accept.
motion?
Motion to accept.
Second. Oh, sorry. Any other discussion?
No.
And the vote is?
Aye.
Rosa pointed out to me a few days ago that nobody at all had sent in comments, so I dutifully sent in comments. But
At that point, they hadn't. I received, Dawn, you're the only one I didn't receive anything from. Patricia's corrections are in here. I just hadn't heard it was kind of unusual, so that's why I sent that out, because
Yeah.
apparently it is.
well,
I didn't get yours before, so I just sort of wanted to make sure things weren't.
what I'd like to know
Through the
is
email
whether we
cracks.
should reset the deadline for comments.
Well-
That sort of disappeared when, I guess David pointed out that we were violating the public meeting law when we exchanged. Because what we would do is we would exchange.
Oh, you can't do that anymore,
We
no.
haven't done that for a while.
What you had as a schedule, I think the last time you were chair is, and I stick to this the best I can. I may not be able to do it this week because I'm going to training on Wednesday, so maybe Thursday. But normally, if you have a meeting on Monday, I'm supposed to get the minutes to everybody by the end of Wednesday. It may be Thursday
Okay.
this week, like I said, because I'm out of town on Wednesday. But then you are all supposed to get the corrections back to me by that Sunday. And then I have time to incorporate them and get them back to David in plenty of time to get in your meeting packets. That's what it used to be, and so when nobody had done anything by Sunday, that's why I sent out an email, just to make sure, because it was really odd, I hadn't heard from anybody. And I did, so.
My computer's down.
Okay,
Sit down on.
so Sunday's the
Don't
deadline.
you just
Might as
love
well stay.
computers?
I can fix it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I do my best to get them done within 48 hours. When I can, I do them the next day. I'm just not sure now if I have more to do now, so.
Something is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 268.
No.
Anybody? ZBA, reappointment.
I move to reappoint Robert Croak to the 5-year term ending in 2019 to the ZBA.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Update green communities. I might mention that I told Ted I would attempt to get a draft to him by the next regularly scheduled planning commission meeting. And if, I don't think it'll be any problem because there's a pretty good model to work on.
Yeah.
And I don't have too many changes in it, so I can do that.
Good.
But what I'm worried about is whether we can fill in everything in theory that we've got to do, which is that it comes here, I guess, and then there's supposed to be 2 hearings thereafter.
The planning board has usually done the postings and the hearings, but yes, there's postings, there's, I guess, hearings, and we just need to work backwards from that date. You know, say, a special town meeting requires 14 days notice, not 7, like a town meeting. So, you gotta figure 14 days.
Back from September what?
Yeah, we haven't chosen that, but September something. And then there are these notice requirements, and then after the vote on a zoning piece, there's further notice requirements. Yeah, it has to go, town clerk has to send it to the Attorney General for review, and we have to post it publicly at the same time. The theory being that citizens can contact the Attorney General.
30 days?
I don't know. It's always been planning board business. I don't know. You can pick Ted's brain. but there's 5 elements, and that zoning is one of them. Expedited permitting process for this type of development, and that can be handled with a letter from council saying that we will do so.
Okay.
And I'll draft that. We have to establish our energy baseline and develop a plan to reduce our energy use by 20% over 5 years. And what we do with the grant money can help to accomplish that. So that's a lot of work, but I'm not afraid of it. The 4th thing is we have to commit to buying only fuel-efficient vehicles. However, everything in our fleet is exempt. But if you decide to buy the town coordinator a vet, you're gonna have to think it over and probably get a Prius or something like that. But all of our heavy trucks, from ton trucks to heavy plow standing trucks to fire trucks, all of those are exempt. There's nothing out there.
Right.
And then the last piece is to set requirements to minimize life cycle energy costs for new construction. And one way to meet this is to adopt the stretch code. And again, that requires town meeting vote. So I would like to bring this before town meeting in time to know, rather than do all this work and then possibly have the town vote it down and shelve it. That's just my personal preference. I'd like to know we have a project. So, but I strongly feel that we can use this canned zoning and then cure it later, because if we find a problem with it, because it is only going to affect the Allen lot, which is owned by the town, which is under the control of the select board and the town meeting. So it's not like we let the Pandora out of the box and all of a sudden, if somebody comes in here with some angle on that zoning that we don't like, the board can just say, no to the project and fix the zoning. I can't imagine what it would be, but there's always something.
Well, I can do a pretty good draft of what I think the changes ought to be in there, and I think
Draft for, is this
like
as of right?
For the as of right, yeah.
Okay.
the answer right
In
time.
fact, in everybody's package is the 10 pages of sample.
Yeah.
Now you got, you want me to send it to you as something other than a Word document? Can you copy it out of their PDF?
It'd be nice to have a Word perfect document. But,
I remember that vaguely.
yeah,
Word perfect, any particular, what is it, WPD is the extension?
yeah, and what, you know what you could do, actually, if you could just get it into notepad form,
Okay, or
that'd be fun.
rich text, that would work too.
Yeah,
Text, okay,
that'll be fun.
I'll figure out a way.
Anything else on green communities? Well, I sort of have something anyway. If I get the planning board to adopt it on the second Thursday of July, will there be sufficient time to get all the hearings?
I don't know 100%, but I'm highly confident. I think that notice requirements usually involve at the far end 2 weeks of posting and noticing, so yes, I would say there's plenty of time.
Okay, okay. PVRS capital definition. Their cover letter to us says there are 3 definitions.
Here is what they just sent us. They had emailed it last week, but
They ignored our submission.
Well, I think what we should do is we put in our comments, including the comment that we've always
well,
seen.
open their letter and see if it's
notice of the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting? Weren't we supposed to go to those?
They, at my request, they do notify me of them.
But we didn't go, so that's why all this happened.
No, this was in the can. When I got the notice, the cover letter was part of the, was included with the agenda, and I said, excuse me, but there's no letter attached, and they said, oh, well, we'll be distributing that at the committee meeting, and I said, yeah, but your letter says you've been working on it for 5 months, you must have something, and they then got me.
Well, you can only send feedback on 2.
Well, I see 3, capital repair, and operating maintenance. Capital repair, strange.
Capital repairs, everything that we said we wouldn't, that we've already been arguing about for every time I can
Right.
remember.
Right.
And they made up this capital repair heading that wasn't there before.
I know I've been posting all the stuff that the school sends to ask to be posted out there, and there was like 3 meetings last Friday, and I think one of them was building something. I don't know.
Thursday. This is
I'm not sure, I've been putting them all up there.
Yeah,
Taking them back down and filing them, so I don't know.
I'm kind of resistant of having to run out to their meetings every time. They should be able to take a well-considered letter from the Warwick Selectboard and actually think that some thought went in it, and nobody needs to be there pounding on the table.
We sent that letter and we put a lot of work into it. And it's like they never read it.
I think they did. I
Yeah.
think they then boxed us into this capital repair. And my reading of the cover letter says they're going to vote this and then they're going to attach it to our leases.
And we had no say.
I think I don't,
We're supposed to give them some feedback, and I'm all for that.
Say, see previous letter.
I'm sorry?
Say, see previous letter.
Well, we've got to-do reviews of the 2 items that we've got, and to tell them that we can't do the 3rd because there ain't a 3rd.
what, Nick, what are you talking about? There are 3 things. There's capital, that's 1. There's capital repair, that's 2. And there's operating maintenance, that's 3. Those are the 3 so-called definitions. They created a new thing to infill the crack between, we were talking about capital and maintenance, and which is which. Now they've turned into something called capital repair. Well,
Yeah.
if it's capital, it's capital.
Right.
Oh, this is not the same as the other cover letter.
And isn't this a little tricky because their council is our town council? He is the council for the district?
Well, yeah, if we want to go to court, it's going to be tricky.
Well, what I would say about this stuff is the definition of capital, the first item, is wrong because it's circular.
Because what?
It's circular. Capital costs shall include all expenses in the nature of capital outlay, blah, blah, blah.
It'd be like saying the definition of a cat is animals having the characteristics of a cat.
Yeah.
What did that tell us?
It's the same, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're in North Carolina, then you get the Cherokee.
Well, I would say that of their capital costs, I would
It's a
say
show on
of the
TV.
capital repairs,
Like a 500-pound cat.
a 1 year
They have pictures of it.
useful life is incredibly small. It
I would
should
go out in
be
the woods and play with that
10
thing.
or 20.
Yeah, we had told them
Yeah.
20
Gun
years.
big enough.
We told them 20.
Yeah.
And operating and maintenance is okay, but I think it needs a dollar amount the way our test. And those would be my comments, and yours would be?
Pretty much the same,
I'm sorry?
pretty much the same. And to make note that the capital repair is a new,
It's a new way to trip up the town is what you're trying for.
well, yeah, I'm trying to say something different now. That was all included in capital before, so these are the things we argued with them about.
Yeah,
And
and
they
they just
just-
did anyway.
They made a new section, and I think we should put it back into capital, including repair.
Don't they have to pay for these things?
With,
Something like that.
what would
They
you
wanna
do
take
in
our
the
money from
first
town
place?
meeting.
Simply say that it's
Well, that-
circular and therefore it doesn't do anything?
Well, I'd say it's circular, it needs a dollar amount, a minimum dollar amount, and it needs a minimum useful life. If you, I mean,
And then put in what we suggested.
Don't just stop playing word games and pay for that.
capital repair is just sleight of hand.
That should be put back under capital, I would suggest.
I'd say it's an unacceptable category.
Well,
The items either belong,
It's
we need a
not-
tight definition so that items either belong under capital or under maintenance.
that's right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That should all be included under capital.
Well, except that some of the stuff like flooring replacement, is that a capital item?
I don't know.
If you're a landlord and you gotta put down new carpet, does the IRS make you amortize the cost of that carpet for the next?
I don't
So
think
many
I don't
years.
think the examples
Not having been a landlord, I
are good.
It was a rhetorical question and I know the answer. The answer's no. However, if you're the landlord and your boiler fails,
I think we would, I
and you
think.
saw it out and put in a new one, that's a capital cost. But if your burner goes bad and the guy says, I patched this thing for the last time, you need to replace it, and you buy a new burner, that's usually not a capitalized item. You don't go to your CPA and say, oh, I spent $1,200 on a new burner for my furnace or boiler. We're gonna have to amortize the cost of this for the next 20 years. I don't think it works that way.
Right, so the 1 year is the main thing we got on that one was objectionable, right?
And you want it, that definition to be 20?
I'd say that the capital repair mostly describes maintenance items.
Except what we said was you could call it capital if it's in excess of 20,000, in excess of 10,000, and it extends the,
Life by 20 years.
right.
Right. And they're saying 1 year and no, and it's like no dollar amount.
Okay, is there a list of items from these that we can put into a letter to them?
We could use our original letter.
Yeah, as a start, yeah, it seems like they missed it or something.
Yeah.
That's what they make the paper airplanes out of.
Let's do that then, send them back the original.
How about,
Letter.
we'll send the select board's original letter, I'll put a cover letter on it and tell them that the select board object that it appears that their input was ignored, that the capital definition is circular, that the capital definition needs a minimum dollar amount and an amortized life. We had suggested 10 years.
I think we suggested.
The capital repair is an unacceptable category. Most of the things cited under capital repair we consider maintenance. And finally, they totally ignored our procedure with respect to emergency repairs and basically gave themselves the ship's wheel and full authority.
Yeah.
So if you're, I'll send a covering note and send the thing back to them and say, looks like you missed this.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do that tomorrow.
I think that's about all we need to do on this one.
Just so you know,
Yeah.
the email that you got on the subject, I also copied the Bernardston Select Board and their coordinator because they have similar concerns, and they've got real concerns about deferral of maintenance becoming capital costs too.
That's interesting.
So you're sending a letter, and I think you know what it's gonna say, and
Yeah.
therefore we're set. Wireless telecom bills.
We'd gotten this in email, and now they're giving us our
Well, this
paper
is what
copy.
we've got in our
Yeah, this is what we got.
packet.
Yes. So, I thought the board might want to weigh in with the legislature on this telecom industry proposals. As the manager of Warwick Broadband, I love this. I can say, if this passes, I can make a deal with the Unitarian, this is just totally made up, but the Unitarian Church, and stick the ugliest, you know, if they're willing, because they own the property, stick the ugliest antennas all over the steeple, or all over the side of any building with no need to consult local zoning whatsoever. And that's what this bill is attempting to do, to say that the telecom industry can go to a building owner at the corner of First and Fifth and say, we want to hang antennas all over the 5th floor of your building, and we'll pay you this much. Deal? Yeah, deal. Okay, we'll get it up there tomorrow, and you'll start seeing, you know, our rentals. And that's not what we have for zoning around here.
So,
Oh, and this goes for cell towers. This isn't just sticking facilities on existing buildings without any process. This means new towers can go up.
I move that David draft a letter voicing our opposition to this and action. And-
Set,
Okay.
or are you adding some more?
No.
Shall I draft it for the chairman's signature?
Yes.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I,
Aye. I couldn't understand what the next item was here. Year-end transfer from contributory insurance to liability insurance account.
So in the last 45 days of the fiscal year, the Select Board and Finance Committee may move money around in between accounts. And we've got plenty of money in contributory insurance. That is our health insurance line. And the liability and workman's comp line needs $3,000. So I'm looking for, I'll need one of these back signed if you have to go along with this. I'm looking to transfer $3,000 out of the contributory insurance line, that account number, it has 14,000 and change in it, to the liability and workers' compensation line, which has $202 in it.
So let's transfer
I'm all for-
3,000
I'm
from,
all for it. Is there a motion?
can I read
This
this
is
upside down for a second?
about
Liability
the-
and workers' compensation? Is that correct?
I move.
Liability.
I move to approve year-end transfer of $3,000 from contributory insurance to liability insurance.
Any other discussion?
Move it second.
That's right. Sorry about that. Second.
No further discussion.
No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Selectboard reports. My only report is that I'm promising to get the draft ordinance on solar power to the
Yes, right, Sandra?
to the planning board by the second Thursday in July. And from there, I guess it comes here first, right?
Well, yeah, because that makes sense, because it's only the selectmen can put something on a warrant, and things aren't
Yeah.
going anywhere until it goes on a warrant, so.
Okay, so, we'll give that to the select board at their next meeting for,
Okay.
approval. That's my report. And your report?
Just that we note sadly the passing of Johnny Warwick from Winchester, formerly of Warwick.
On the cheerier side,
Yeah.
do you think we would be out of line to send Patricia some flowers?
No, I think that would be a nice idea.
Let's do it. Do you have a thought about a ceiling on the amount? Flowers range from about $10 to about $80,
You
I
can't
think.
get anything for $10. I'd say about 50.
That's what I was thinking also.
You know what? We're gonna end up very likely with flowers imported from Colombia, shipped by air.
What about Leanne Lamoche? Doesn't she still grow flowers at home?
Let me check with Leanne, if not, I'll raid my garden as soon as I leave home. I got lots of peonies in bloom or something.
Very good idea.
Flowers would come from town.
Yeah.
That would mean more too.
Yeah, it would.
She's got some really nice flowers, I think.
Okay, so either it will be Leanne or it will be purchased up to 50.
Well, Leanne was gonna make a flower arrangement last week for that girl, the Zuma lady.
Oh, Lee get married?
That's what they were talking about.
Okay, so Leanne can still do it.
I guess she's still.
Yeah, I think she just got off the
Yeah, she
flower
doesn't do
CSA
it here anymore.
requirement to.
Yeah,
She got a farmer's market circle.
okay, that's a consensus. I guess, the board members can just take it out of their pockets, it's not going to be too high.
Yeah.
Okay,
I move that we approve David to carry over 2 vacation days to the next fiscal year.
second.
Next fiscal year?
Why do you wanna carry them over?
Oh, because I've been catching up, but I'm still taking Fridays off, I still have 2 days to take. I don't wanna lose them. The board would need to vote to either carry them over or I need to take them, in which case I'm only gonna work about 2 more days this fiscal year. And I got more work than 2 days can accomplish.
Makes sense.
So you want a motion,
Just to carry them forward, so I don't lose them.
yeah.
Which I just said.
Yes,
Okay,
you second.
got it, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Coordinated report.
Look at that middle pane on it, will you? Tell me what you see.
Nothing? What am I looking at?
The middle pane on the window. The pane of glass.
Circle. Square thing?
Oh,
Yeah, if you come over here, it looks like a hippopotamus or maybe a.
Baby Jesus, or you never know.
No, no. No, I don't think he ever had. No, he could have. But I don't know.
There's some
Here's
sort of
some-
turning.
I don't know if it's something that he found.
I think-
Look, you're very involved in
Still discovering
paying
that.
attention to the speaker.
Well, I've been looking at that thing, it looks like he's standing there looking this way.
So I don't have a,
I'm ruling that you're out of order until we adjourn the meeting, and then we can discuss the glass. But first, the coordinator report.
the only thing I'd point out is it looks like our 20,000 USDA grant is good to go. Got all the paperwork in, and once those funds hit our bank, then I'm gonna need to double back to Chapter 90 and figure out how they wanna handle this. I'm betting the last thing in the world is they want us to do is send them a check for 20,000 that we then draw down again for an approved project, but that'll be the next thing, once we have that money in hand. And one thing we need to remember, and I'm having Beth file it with the title, is because of this federal assistance, when we're done with that truck, we can't just sell it. We need to go back to them and get approval for how we dispose of it. Given the value of a truck by the time we do dispose of it, I don't see a downside. I see a lot more upside to having 20,000 that we can essentially put into our roads, because and likely in 13 or 15 years nobody will even remember, but I'm going to make an attempt to staple a note to the title so that
Okay.
we'll be able to stay in compliance there. I was also encouraged by USDA to work with them for financing fiber in town. They'd love to get involved with that, with our track records, etc. And so I reached out to Reva and said, has Wired West looked at USDA? And she said that they had, but very few communities were income eligible, which Warwick is. So Warwick might be a special case in getting this done. And but he had quite a lot of interest in our broadband system, and basically said, instead of doing it organically and $40,000, and 6 years later you got 200,000 into your project, you could borrow it all and do it. So, and they do seem to like to get into things at the beginning too. So it's an option for Warwick. It's not one that will work for all. It's not one that will work for most of the Wired West towns because of income eligibility criteria. It does work for.
Is there any more news on cell phones?
My buddies up in Vermont have kind of fallen off the vine. I'll go shake their tree. I can tell you that Warwick Broadband works for cell phones with an appliance in your house.
With an appliance?
There's a device that's generically called a FEM-to-cell, FEM-to-cell, and it is basically a broadband backhauled appliance. So I've got 2 4G bars on AT&T, and I'm talking to a little white box that sits up in my office. It's plugged into broadband, and I have one of these at my house. We have one, and they're topography specific, and that is to say, AT&T does not share hardware type with Verizon, and Sprint seems to be slowly migrating over to the Verizon standard, but it's as if you have DOS and Mac or Windows and they just, you gotta, so that's why you can have your cell phone fully charged. There's a tower, I see a ring of antennas on it, and I can't connect anything. It's because you got the wrong, that's an AT&T slash, what's the one up in New Hampshire? T-Mobile. AT&T and T-Mobile pretty much have the same kind of gear, and Verizon and Sprint Sprint's moving into that. The piece we were looking at was the Vanu Bose's device that instead of being defined by the hardware being specific to AT&T or being specific to the Verizon platform, his equipment could handle either and through software. But I haven't been working them that hard, but either business is so good that they haven't thought to call me back, or the rollout in rural Vermont, where Vermont did fiber all over, kind of like 123 here in Western Mass, only they did what's called an overlash, which is a lot cheaper, rather than making space on the poles and having a dedicated space on the pole, and the fiber goes here, and the telephone trunk goes here, and then the alarm system wiring goes here, and the telephone's up here. They essentially taped it to the telephone bundle, an overlash, and it's not seen as as good a long-term solution, because they're into those telephone bundles all the time, but it is a way to save a lot of money. And then the next piece of Vermont's program was to bring cellular, besides bringing internet backbone through the state, to provide cellular where there weren't any towers. And that's Bose's company is putting these pole top units which feed into that fiber internet. And probably like all technology, it's taking longer to roll it out. Our challenge is if we put some tens of thousands of dollars into those, I feel that we could use the two systems, and the one they're dedicating 90% of their effort on are pole tops, meaning small cells sit on top of 40-foot, 50-foot telephone poles. And they also internationally make devices that sit on tall towers and have a lot more capacity. I think we could put the pole top things on our towers, given our rural population, etc. But how to monetize it is the problem. How to get any money out of it is the problem. Because it's radio spectrum that's licensed to and therefore owned by Verizon, AT&T, etc. They probably wouldn't complain if we put $20,000 or $30,000 worth of hardware on our poles, connected it to our internet, paid our internet bill, and let their customers use our facilities for free. I doubt we'd get in any trouble, but we wouldn't have any way to make back any money on the thing. So the second piece of their company is a second company called Coverage.com, and so far the only ones they've been able to play with that are basically allow them to be resellers have been Sprint, and I hate to disparage Sprint, but they're a poor third cousin in this whole cell phone business. So I guess that's part of the problem is figuring out how would we make back the tens of thousands that we would put into, because the cell phone carriers won't do it because it's not financially worth it to them. We could take a longer horizon, but whether we wanted to do it, just basically do their work for them, pass their signals. We haven't been that flush to actually look at that, but it's badly needed. And then the other thing that's going on is that the wireline companies, more than a year ago, petitioned the FCC to drop the requirement that they provide plain old telephone lines.
The landlines?
The landlines, yeah, that it not be a requirement. That, because the old deal was, you got a telephone monopoly, it doesn't work to have competing interests, especially in low population areas, so we will give you, Montbell, the monopoly on this. But in return for having this monopoly, we're gonna regulate you, and we're gonna require you to serve everybody. Same idea with the post office. You know, that it used to be that nobody could carry a letter, except the post office. So it's pretty, you know, it's just structurally difficult to figure a way around this stuff. But it could be that we in rural areas, as the FCC looks at letting the Verizons and Southwest Bells and all the incumbent carriers off the hook for having to, the legal requirement that they serve everybody who wants a telephone line with a telephone line, and currently provide them with a 911 dial tone, even if they aren't their customer anymore. As the FCC looks at letting them off the hook for that, it might require them instead to provide cell service. Could be our hope.
Then I will hold my breath.
No, don't hold your breath. The devices I'm talking about cost around $150, and I've known people in town to get one for free by calling up and arguing that they've been such good customers, or they have this family plan, or they're going to switch, or whatever. And I've heard other people in town try that and say, yeah, I was told, fine, move. You know, go to the other guys. I'm not giving you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Third.